I'm Jenn Drummond. Welcome to Seek Your Summit. As a mom, a business owner, and the first female to climb the 7-second summits, I realize that the mountains we climb are a part of our success. And it is up to us to go beyond that success into a life of significance. Listen in as I share personal stories and interview others who have led a life of both success and significance, and now they are paying it forward. Today, we have Mark Leonard on the podcast. He is a high performance coach and an entrepreneurial whisperer. So if you are an entrepreneur, this is your episode. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited that we could meet up today.
Hey, everybody that's listening, Mark has 6 children, 12 grandchildren, so as we beat on that.
But at this point, I have 5 of 6 married.
Oh, wow.
So we are growing. Giving is bigger and bigger.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. Okay, so what got you into the coaching industry?
Coaching for me has always been something that I find fascinating. It goes back to when I was doing my doctorate degree.
Okay.
I'm so fascinated by why are some people so successful when other people, given what seems to be the same recipe, the same opportunities, continue to flail and have difficulty. I wanted to understand what would help unlock people.
What have you learned?
How much time do we have? One of the things I'm very fascinated with is there are certain attributes that people that continue to perform high have over and over.
Okay.
And I love to explore and do assessments. It's that academic side of me that looks to go, okay, you look like you're doing great, but what can we really measure and what can we then improve upon? And I find that people that are phenomenally successful, they have a couple of common things, and those simply are consistent.
Consistency. That compounding interest piece, I tell you.
Dag nabbit, right?
I know. I grew up in finance. That was my first career out of college. And I'm telling you that those little things that you do consistently and you give it time, it doesn't look so little anymore.
That's exactly it. It's that consistency. People are either phenomenally consistent doing the right things, or they're consistently not doing the right things. Everyone is consistent. If you look at your life over a period of time, I love that analogy of the stock market. You could look at any period of time and you say there tends to be a 12% return for any 10-year period. Does that mean you had some ups? Yes. Does that mean you had some downs? Of course. We have that in our own life, but how can we implement the idea of being consistent and looking at how we can become high performing? The second thing that really successful and my most successful clients do is they understand the distractors that are taking them away. And that's different than the vacation distractors.
Okay. So explain.
A distractor that pulls someone away. For my wife and I, we've noticed we have a home office and we get a lot done there.
Okay.
We also get laundry done, dishes done. We get a longer lunch break done. We get a lot of things done when we work at home. But when we moved into our office across town, suddenly it was like, shoot, now I'm paying for another place.
Right.
I need to make my return on investment higher. I'm going to make sure I'm very focused when I'm here. So the distractors, I turn off my phone, I turn off the emails, I stop checking in with our 35 employees. I'll let them know, hey, I'm going to be out of pocket for the next 2 hours. If you need me, I'm not going to be there.
Yeah, that block timing, right? I think that makes a big difference because when I go from activity to activity, I think of it as like my computer screen that has a whole bunch of screens open and it just doesn't work as fast when you have too many going. So I just need to turn some of those off, lock and load and say, hey, I'll connect with you when I'm out of this little work session.
The problem is they introduced tabs and now you can have multiple screens in each tab. Becoming very intentional about what your focus is. I like to use a philosophy that I take from psychology.
Okay.
And it has to do with triggers and transitions.
Okay.
So think of a transition. Whenever you go from one room to another, you have a transitionary step, right? There's often a piece of wood on the floor or something down there that lets you know, oh, I'm crossing a threshold. Whenever you get ready to cross a threshold, you can ask yourself a couple of simple questions. What is my purpose for coming into this room? How do I want to perform at my very best? And who needs me to be on my very best right now? Now, for those of us that have the added benefit of ADHD in our life,
come on.
For those of us that have that wonderful superpower, we also have some of the dark side of the ADHD that has a tendency to draw us away. So when we intentionally walk through a threshold, we could ask ourselves, who do I need to be today? How am I going to be on my best? What is my purpose for being here?
I have to do that myself with trigger meditations. Every single time I touch a doorknob, it's this cue to myself to be, okay, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? And am I on autopilot or am I being intentional? Just that little trigger allows me to reconnect to who I am and what I want to be. And sometimes I'm out in La La Land, if I had to be honest.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that, and I love that because La La Land happens. How many of us have driven down the road and you get across town and you stop and you go,
how did I get here?
How did I get here?
Yeah.
Was there traffic? And that becomes scary when we get into that autopilot, but we do that throughout the day.
Yeah.
We do that with business. We do that working towards our goals. We slip into autopilot. So the other thing that we could do is not only do we have our transitions, but we have our triggers.
Yep.
When something happens, how am I going to choose to respond?
Yes, and you're planning that, right? 100%.
Absolutely. My favorite time in any year is when the Olympics are happening.
Here we are.
And here we are. I love watching professional athletes. If you look at them, they all have mindset coaches who help them set their mindset. And the most successful ones have a dialogue of what happens when they make a mistake. Mm-hmm. The dialogue is not, oh, I missed the shot. Oh, dang it. That was terrible. No, the dialogue is, that was one shot. I'm ready for my next one. Mm-hmm. When you're intentional about it, suddenly that trigger of a miss is a resetting point. Mm-hmm. And that's what's a very powerful combination.
I just interviewed an Olympic gold medalist the other day, and I'm like, do you get scared? She's like, yes, I'm scared every single time. But once my coach says go and I turn my skis, that's my trigger that it's just time to go with the fear, because the fear had its chance and now it's time to perform. And just understanding that those emotions are going to show up, but you control them.
One of your neighbors up where you happen to live is Peekaboo. She is phenomenal about that transition and that trigger before she goes down, even in the nervousness. She's visualizing every single turn.
Yep. So
that by the time she physically goes down, she's already done it in her mind 3, 4, 5 times.
She's a mental powerhouse.
She is. We could take a lot of great knowledge from our gold medalists and from our athletes on how we can implement that more in our daily life. What if we all of a sudden turn that into not just going down the run, but what about parenting? With 6 kids, what if we switched it from how can I be my best at business to how can I be my very best for my kid right now who might be having a hard day?
What do you give somebody as suggestions for that?
Great question. There's a couple different things that I love to do when someone is in that moment of how do I switch to becoming a world-class parent? Mm-hmm. One, you have to define what that looks like for you. Take the time to define what excellence looks like. Mm-hmm. And I use a model that we're all very familiar with, E equals MC squared.
Okay.
So excellence equals mindset times care times connection.
Oh.
But we could do a lot of mindset, care, and connection work and never hit excellence if we've never defined where we're going. Take the time to define it. If you plan a vacation, you're going to spend a lot of time planning what it's going to look like, how you're going to get there, what activities you're going to do. Do that in every aspect of your life. Do that with parenting. When that difficult conversation happens at 2:00 in the morning and your teenager is sitting on your bedside, you're able to be engaged despite the exhaustion. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because you've defined how you want to show up in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I develop avatars for the different roles that I play. I even have an alarm that goes off on my phone. So when kids come home from school, I'm like, it's magnificent mom. She's on duty from this time to this time. And then I even have significant sleeper, because if I don't put a bedtime on myself, I destroy my next day.
Most people are late to work because of what happened the night before.
I believe it.
They're not late because of traffic. They're late because they didn't prepare the night before to be successful.
Yeah.
I love it when my employees, they show up late and they're also, I'm so sorry, Mark, I didn't mean to be late today. And I look at them and I said, really? It was
What'd you do yesterday?
The first day that there was traffic? Was it the very first time this ever happened to you? And they go, no. I said, oh, so then you didn't plan. What did you do last night? Oh, I'm really tired. I went to bed late. Mm-hmm. So then you planned to not be successful today. If you want to rise and become my manager, then you need to start thinking about how you're going to show up the night before. Mm-hmm. It's about that intentionality, right? Defining that excellence in every aspect of your life.
How do people find you and they're like, okay, I need Mark to be my coach?
Most people, I have never advertised.
Okay.
Because it's all been word of mouth.
Really?
All of my clients have been word of mouth. They have heard from a friend that had great results. And that's been a really comforting place for me.
Yeah.
And it's also keeps me on my A game, because I want to make sure that whatever I do, I'm my very best as a coach.
Definitely.
And that I'm helping serve them for what they need. People find us through our podcast,
okay,
which is, we have a trademark program called the Happiness Breakthrough. Mm-hmm. They find us through our website, the Happiness Breakthrough. They find us on social media, the Happiness Breakthrough.
Yeah.
But all of this is, people find us through, mostly they're realizing there's something off in their life.
Yeah.
They search and they go and they talk to their friends and to the people that they know, and they say, I'm going through a difficult time. How did you seem to be handling this? What's going on? And invariably someone's already talked with me.
What made you name it the Happiness Breakthrough?
When I was in high school, mm-hmm. I had this persona and this idea of, people said, you're like the cowardly lion. You're a little bit shy, but you're always smiling. And I started thinking about that persona of the cowardly lion. He was just so happy mm-hmm. in life. Mm-hmm. And although I had a brain and he might not have had a brain, however, he realized he did. And there's magic in that breakthrough of transformation. And I just recognized when I was going through my doctorate, I was more interested in, why are people breaking through mm-hmm. and why are people not? Mm-hmm. And everyone wants happiness. But the interesting thing about happiness is, despite what marketers say, there's not one solution. Happiness is defined by you.
Right. It's an inside job for sure.
It absolutely is. But it takes often someone like me to help draw it out.
Okay.
And help formulate and define that, and then figure out what's keeping you down, what's in the way.
And what habits are causing you to have this feeling consistently, right?
Yes.
It's amazing how many habits we have that we're not even aware of. They're not helping us to get where we want to go. Unintended
consequences.
Right.
Are often the ones that we're not looking at. We go, oh, I'm going to join the 5 a.m. club, right? I'm going to join the 5 a.m. club and I'm going to go to the gym at 5 a.m. The unintended consequence is, maybe you haven't prepped your night before. You haven't prepped your room for proper sleep, or you haven't prepped your diet to help give you the energy so that you can do the 5 a.m. club. By the way, the science behind the 5 a.m. club, complete total marketing.
Yeah. I'm like, you don't have any teenagers. The 5 a.m. club is not for teenage parents, because when you have teenagers, they go to bed at 5 a.m.
Yes.
And so you need to be awake and aware of what's going on. I'm at a bad time of life for the 5 a.m. club. It's not happening right now.
But you're recognizing what part of the club you can be part of, and defining again that for you is so vital.
Do you use a lot of resources to help people figure out who they are and how they operate?
Yes.
Okay.
I use a lot of assessments.
Okay. What's one of your favorites?
I have some that I've created.
Okay.
Assessments are interesting because you want to make sure that they're valid and reliable. Mm-hmm. And those are academia terms for you can measure it and do it over and over again with different people in different groups. And I like to make sure that whatever I'm using is a valid and reliable instrument. Okay. That it isn't created off social media buzz. Mm-hmm. I've created some that we've tested. I also utilize some through my coaching program that I've used and I have access to because of my academic background. I don't use MBTI. I don't use DISC. I don't use a lot of those, even though I'm certified to use that. Mm-hmm. I'm more interested in the assessments of performance in your life right now. Okay. Because you just said it's a difficult time in your life to be part of the 5 a.m. club because you have teenagers. Mm-hmm. Great. Then maybe we're using the wrong instrument if we're looking at the 5 a.m. clubs. And there is research around it, but they didn't look at parents of teenagers.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for people is to acknowledge that there's a lot of systems being marketed out there for the masses. But when you want to get into high performance, it needs to be very specialized and catered to you so that the system's working for you instead of you working for the system.
One of the ones I really love is through the High Performance Institute. It was research done at the University of California, San Diego, and also Cal State University, Santa Barbara. I love the research that they have utilized to look at why are some people so successful while others are not. And also, what are the habits that people need to have that really help them overcome some of those difficulties in life.
Okay. And what would be some habits for people listening today to evaluate for themselves?
Clarity. Do you have clarity of vision? Do you know where you're going? When you plan a trip, do you just hop in the car and start driving? Or have you started mapping out where you're going to go? How are you going to get there? How will you know that you've arrived? Clarity in our life is a really important aspect. Another great habit is looking at necessity, understanding. A lot of people use the term why. Why is it? And that became overused and overpopularized. People say, oh, just ask the 7 whys. Right. Why is that happening? Why did that happen? Ask it 7 times, you'll get to the depth of it. But really what you want to drive to is not the why, but why is it necessary? What is that inner drive or internal locus of control that is driving you to desire to have that in your life? So understanding necessity, when you start thinking about the purpose of what you're doing here, I love what you've talked about with scaling the summits. Why was it so important for you to scale these summits?
Yeah, for me, it was real easy. My kids were watching, and I needed to give them an example of somebody they lived with, of what it looked like. And it wasn't all easy. It was times when I didn't want to do it, and I still stuck with it. And when you stick with something, it compounds and you get to the top.
So that necessity for you was to be that example for your 7 children. Mm-hmm. What positive outcomes have you seen happen because you drove so deep into that necessity?
Personally, it's given me a different level of confidence because when I said yes to this pursuit, I'd never slept in a tent before. This was a stretch goal by all imagination. And then watching my children watch. They come home and they don't want to do math homework. I come home and I don't always want to do my step-ups. But if I don't do my step-ups, I'm not going to survive on the mountains. And if you don't do your math homework, you're not going to survive in your classroom.
And driving into that necessity transcends every aspect of life. If it is climbing and getting up to the summit, overcoming a health challenge, doing the math homework, focusing on that goal to build a side business or chase a new career or to do the courageous thing that you've always been afraid to do, you have to dig deep into why it is so necessary for you. And if you're finding that your answers come across as, I just wanted to do that, that's not necessity.
Right.
And those people that do that tend to have difficulty achieving their goals.
Yeah.
So again, driving into that necessity, when you cross that threshold that we talked about, why is it necessary for me to be on my A game right now? Mm-hmm. It changes how you look at every lens in your life. Mm-hmm. Another habit is productivity. What isn't over talked about is the power of yet.
That word, it's a powerful word, yet.
It's my favorite 3-letter word in the whole English language because it changes how we look at things. Ooh, if I was to say, I'm not a millionaire, that seems very final. I'm not a millionaire yet. I haven't written a best-selling book. I haven't written a best-selling book yet. As soon as you introduce yet, it opens up the opportunity. Now, when you're sitting down to be productive, you can start asking yourself, what are your distractors? For me, I know that when I work at home with my personality and my desire to bounce around like a Tigger, I want to get up all the time. So I have to get out of my house and go work somewhere else just so I can be more productive.
I'm going to LA this weekend so that I don't have my distractions. I'm locking myself into a hotel room. There's nothing to clean, right? There's nothing to fold. There's nothing to cook. And so now I know I'm locked in this space to just do deep work for a few days. Then I'll go home and I can do all those other activities. But if I don't remove myself from that environment, it will take me way longer to get the thing done.
That takes courage. That takes courage to recognize that you need to do it. And it takes courage to actually step up and do it. One of the things I love about courage is I saw this the other day. Someone said, are you scared? When you asked the gold medalist, were you scared? Were you nervous? Yes. And you have two choices. You could be scared and stop, or you could do it scared and go. I would much rather do it scared and go. Because in the process of going, you find that confidence.
Definitely. Now, you had a health scare.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I had a near-death experience with a car accident. I feel like those situations happen for us. What about you with yours?
So mortality motivation,
yes.
Another aspect of psychology is very fascinating. Most people have some type of experience in their life, either for themselves or somebody else they're close to, that gives them pause. I remember laying in bed at the hospital as they're getting ready to take out my right lung, the 3 lobes. And my wife has crawled up into this hospital bed with me. She's sleeping. And I remember laying there just pleading and going, God, I promise I'm going to be better. I promise I'm going to just save me. Help me achieve what I want to do so that I can be a voice for you, so that I could go on to do great things, so that I can be an influence for good in this world. Please, I will even do the thing I abhor the most, and it's yard work.
You had him at yard work. I think that was your winning card.
Yeah. And we make those promises in those moments.
We do. I negotiated with death too.
And then too often, when we get comfortable again, when the lungs ended up being okay, and after being diagnosed with cancer 5 times, come to find out every pulmonologist, every doctor I have seen, every time I went to the Cancer Institute, at Huntsman Cancer Institute, they were all wrong. I had a phenomenally rare disease. It's so rare, there's only about 2,000 cases in the United States a year. When I learned that, it gave me a different view on mortality motivation. It wasn't, let me go, if you save me, I'll go be the best. It was, I'm unique. I'm different. And if I'm different, I bet other people are too.
Right.
What can we do to fuel ourselves through that? That's something I try to remind myself is, I am absolutely unique, just like everybody else.
How do you think you help others turn that story into a perspective of power instead of a perspective of victim?
Oh, wonderful book, The Power of TED. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to read that. I had the opportunity to be a keynote speaker along with that author.
Okay.
It's this idea of are we going to be a victim in life, or are we going to look for ways that we can overcome and achieve despite whatever has gone on? Whenever I'm coaching someone, I'm looking for those wins in their life. And I've had many clients, they'll say to me, oh, I haven't had any wins.
So you had to win something. You won the wake up every day lotto so far.
Right? And I call it BS, belief system. Your belief system is broken. So let's start changing how you're viewing the world. So if you are here today, what can you celebrate today? Most of my clients, especially the entrepreneurs who work so hard, they've stopped celebrating.
Isn't that the truth? We start making things hard and serious and tunnel vision, and we forget, like, this is it. The day to day is where you're living life, so you better figure out how to add joy in.
Yes, and how can you turn around and go from a victim standpoint to I'm going to choose to be powerful because I have had a win. Another great book out there about the power of making your bed. I will admit right here, I don't make my bed very often. I do not. That is not a power standpoint for me.
Okay.
But I was phenomenally successful recording a podcast, editing. I was phenomenally successful writing a new blog. I was very successful in cheering on a new employee.
So the bed's the noun in this circumstance.
That's right.
So just pick your noun that you're going to be phenomenally consistent with, like we've started from the beginning, and continue to do. And
then celebrate. Go out and celebrate.
What's your favorite way to celebrate?
Oh, my favorite way to celebrate? It started when I was doing my doctorate, and my wife is preparing to do her doctorate. And it was every semester, we made sure we got away for an overnight. Sometimes the overnight was the Ramada down the road because we were poor students, right? And sometimes the overnight was shuttling the kids off to other family, and we had a staycation.
Okay.
And as we've matriculated in our business and with different successes, sure, our overnights look a little bit different than what they used to. Okay. But for me, it is connect to the thing that is most important. And that's my relationship with my high school sweetheart.
Friends who don't know this story, high school sweethearts got married 2 weeks out of high school.
That's right.
Are happily celebrating how many years of marriage now?
33 years.
Woohoo! We celebrate that for sure.
It's hard work, but that is what we became aligned with. Yeah. Is fighting fiercely for our marriage and fighting fiercely for the necessity of each other. And the more that we do that, the more that we're able to celebrate. Another great way to celebrate, probably one of my favorites, Costco. There is something magical about just my wife and I holding hands, walking through Costco, getting a sample.
Love it.
We can afford to go other places.
It's about the connection and enjoying the ordinary.
Yes.
With my kids, I tell them the extraordinary takes care of itself. Like, you're going to have extraordinary moments your entire life. It's when you can learn how to make the ordinary extraordinary that your life's become magical. It's the challenge, is having the day-to-day become little magical bits that turn into your magical life.
And that's the secret. Yeah. Finding those little ordinary parts of your life. Because I am sure with everyone I have met today, everyone is going through something difficult. Everyone is carrying something heavy. Why not, as I go out in the world, choose to offer a happiness breakthrough? Why not choose to call someone by their name at the checkout line? Why not choose to smile when that mom is having a tough day with those kids and you see her walking down and you're wondering, man, she's carrying something heavy. Why not choose to find a way to serve her without her even knowing it? Look for opportunities to be a voice for good. And the more you do that, see, it's all about the lenses that we put on. Consistently looking for the habits that will drive us, consistently looking for opportunities to look at the world not as a victim, but as a power. I was being interviewed in Forbes magazine. I wrote that my ADHD is my superpower. He wrote back and said, there is no way that you could justify that. You need to turn this around. I land blasted him with data and research that showed that most entrepreneurs have ADHD. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for ADHD, there's a lot of things that would not happen in this world. Mm-hmm. I choose to tap into the positives of mine. Mm-hmm. I can consume information quickly and I can regurgitate it quickly. And I can also get distracted quickly. Finding out how we can tap into our strengths. So going back to those habits, what are the strengths that we have? And then how can we celebrate consistently throughout our day in the ordinary is marvelous.
How do you help somebody who they have a habit, it's a bad habit, and they keep failing at quitting it or changing it?
There are, and I've had many clients struggle with some pretty dark, disastrous habits.
Okay.
It has been a tough road for them. But for most of the ones that have been successful, one of two things happens. There are some addictions that people need counseling for.
Yeah, they chemically change your brain or something, right?
That's right.
They're legitimate.
Yes. If I'm not able to help them, I want to refer them to get the help they need so they can come back and we can keep coaching. Now, that's not all addictions. There are some that are still hard to break. For me, it is looking at that accountability and looking for, again, driving back to that necessity. See, mortality motivation. If someone was told, you have high blood pressure, your heart is weakening, you're going to die soon, a lot of people go, oh, great, I'm going to start walking 5 miles a day, eat nothing but spinach and chicken, avoid all caffeine, and my life is going to be great. And about 3 hours later, they find themselves failing because they put unrealistic expectations.
All at once, too.
Exactly.
Baby steps, friends.
And that is how I help break them from some of these habits that are drawing them away, is looking at the baby steps. Maybe let's just pick a very common one, smoking. And again, I'm not a psychologist, so I'm not working from the medicinal side,
right?
But I'm going to work from a mindset side of things. You told me last week that you were smoking 2 packs a day. How much are you smoking today? And they go, oh, it's a pack and a half. Hot dang. You just cut out half of a pack. Yeah, but I'm not there yet. How long did it take you to get up to 2 packs a day? It's okay. Let's look at the little steps.
I like that because I think I talk about it quite often is being kind to ourselves makes us stronger. I think a lot of times we're just so hard on ourselves and that's not going to help anybody. So when you learn how to be kind to yourself and celebrate the smallest little thing, that builds momentum. And momentum is where change happens.
It really does. Momentum fueled with celebration becomes exciting. So tracking progress. I have my clients track where they are so they can see that over time, not everyone can change overnight. Most people need to track and see that progress over time. Most people do not achieve their biggest and greatest goals in their first year. It's going to take time. So let's start breaking it down into the habits that will drive you, celebrate the steps you're taking, measure along the way, and keep checking in to make sure that you are making progress with the things that are most important.
Yeah. How are you setting your goals into the future to make sure that you're hitting them and evolving and changing?
I have a dream board like a lot of people do. I took upon myself several years ago to write my 100 big dreams.
Okay.
And it was awesome. It was great. It was like, oh, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have that. And about 13, 14 things in, I went, wow, now it's getting hard. Yeah. By 50, it felt impossible. But I kept dreaming and writing things up. And then I actually put it on the shelf and just started looking at, if I want to achieve any of those, who do I need to be and what habits and skills do I need to have? So for me, it's all about the 1% change. It's about making small, minute changes to my everyday. My goals are huge.
Okay.
I've got big goals. I have them 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years out.
Okay.
And I still have them. But then I reassess every week. Where am I on that path? are these things driving me closer to it or further away? And if it's driving me further away, not looking at that as a failure, but asking myself, wait a second, I checked out for 3 days. Why? Why did I check out? Was it health? Was it a mental, just needing that mental break? Mm-hmm. Did I stop celebrating? Or was it just a time that you need to sharpen that saw? Mm-hmm. Too often, my clients go straight to I didn't achieve my goal, so I failed. Mm. What if you turned it around and said, you didn't achieve your goal? What did you learn?
Right. So you're leading with curiosity.
Very much so.
Yeah. Which just gives more space for things to show up and evolve and change. When I got into my car wreck, I had a huge bucket list. I found that once you start doing things, the list gets bigger because you get exposed to different ideas or concepts. Even if I don't achieve everything on the list, it just gets my brain used to being in expansion mode and possibility mode, and so many more doors open.
And this is a world of abundance.
Yes.
We own franchise businesses as well. We have an ice cream store.
Oh, good thing I don't own an ice cream store. Yeah. Oh, goodness.
And one of the things I love about it is the impact that we can have with the teenagers that work there.
Oh, I bet.
It is marvelous to watch them grow from a sophomore, junior, senior year. We just had one of our employees graduate college. She had been with us since the day we opened. It's fun to watch them grow, but I'm constantly reminded that their changes are minute as well. Mm-hmm. So if I can, as a boss and an owner, have patience with them, why can't I have patience with me? Mm-hmm. And recognize that from an abundant standpoint, the only competition in the market for our ice cream is not the ice cream store that opened up a block away. It's not the one that's been around for 25 years that's a block away. The only thing I'm in competition with is myself. How can I improve my business today? What can I do differently to serve my community today? That's it. There's so much business out there.
Especially with ice cream.
Oh, but it's any business that someone has. The only competition is not your next door neighbor. It's you. Mm-hmm. And asking yourself, how can you make it small, consistent improvement over time?
What is one small, consistent improvement that you've done that you've seen, like, I would have never guessed this would have made a difference, but it's made a huge difference in my life?
I was a hothead.
Okay. I cannot even imagine you as a hothead.
Thank you.
You've come far.
But it has taken many years of learning to step back out of a situation and not allow myself to react. Now, do I still react on occasion? Yes. There are some bathrooms in this world, for some reason, no matter what you do, you cannot get the water to turn on. You try to wash and you get frustrated, you get agitated. But most of the time, being able to step back out of it and go, hang on, what's really going on here? That gives me time to breathe, recenter, and focus, and then choose how I want to react.
Yeah.
So that's probably been my biggest change. I was a big hothead. I don't know how my wife stuck with me. Our first year of marriage, now remember, we got married 2 weeks out of high school.
Right.
By the way, our first child was born
3 months.
3 months later.
Yep.
Now, if any of you remember biology, that is not a normal gestational period. But that was part of our story. And in that first year of marriage, she was thinking divorce and I was thinking divorce. But guess what? We didn't even talk about it. And we just kept going and kept changing how we wanted to show up for each other. Mm-hmm. That's what we did, and it's worked. And it continues to work. And we still have marital problems like most people.
Right, you're human.
Right, yes. And we're two humans in the same roof. Mm-hmm. We have different ways of viewing things. I like action movies. She likes rom-coms. That's okay. That's just a different preference. She likes to psychotically take the toothpaste from the bottom. I like to squeeze from the middle. I love you, babe. But it's just a preference. When I was looking at my hot-headed years, I was recognizing I was reacting to the world and not allowing someone else to have a different preference than me. That was a big transition.
I think it's a big transition for all of us, right? I mean, we all have preferences that we're like, it would be a lot easier if you just liked the same things I did the same way I did, but it'd be really boring.
Yes, it would. And thank goodness she likes a different type of sushi than I do.
Okay.
Because that's
no competition there.
Right?
Yeah.
Then we could share.
For somebody that's listening today that feels like they're stuck or in a rut or just not operating at that high performance, what's one thing that you would encourage them to do? What's something that they can try to become more aware of themselves?
You actually just gave the answer, and that is self-aware.
Okay.
And it's starting to step back and looking at their life of maybe not why are certain things happening to me, but why am I choosing to react in a certain way? And how could I reframe and change how I approach that situation? One of the tools I love to use is gratitude. Just write down 3 things that you're grateful for every day. And most people do that, but they don't do it consistently. So now what if when you start your day, you start putting out there what you're going to be grateful for that day before it even started? Most people do it at the end. Start at the beginning of the day.
Oh, I like that.
What can I be grateful for today? I got up. That's awesome. Yeah. What are you grateful for going forward? Then give me a call. Then I want to help you. But really, it's start with that gratitude of what you can be grateful for today. Set the intention out there.
Yep.
And then watch what happens as you're self-aware. The more you set the intention of how you want to react, the more you become that over time.
I like that. I do my gratitude list at a red light because I used to get so grouchy about this darn red light by my house that I was like, I am only one cranky about this light. So I need to change the story. So I changed the story by turning it into my gratitude light. All my gratitude has always been past thinking. Like, I'm grateful for this that happened or that happened. I like the idea of having gratitude be forward thinking so that you step into it as your day continues.
There's a great reason for it. And for anyone that's ever bought a vehicle before, I like to do a lot of research, and I knew the exact vehicle I wanted to buy before I even got on the lot.
Okay.
And by the time I got there, I'd done so much research that it was very simple. I want that vehicle, and this is the price. And that's what I got. I got in the vehicle and I'm driving down Bangor Road in Salt Lake City, and I'm all, this is the most amazing. I've got the most unique truck. And I'm looking around, I'm going, wow, there's one. And oh shoot, there's one. That looks just like mine. I was so frustrated. But what happens is we begin to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. I became so focused on that one thing, I wasn't focused on what's down the road and what I could be grateful for. Once we start framing our mind towards that, we become a self-fulfilling prophecy of what we're going to become.
How does everybody reach out to get to their high power life with Dr. Mark?
The easiest way to reach out is go to thehappinessbreakthrough.com. You could find me on Instagram, The Happiness Breakthrough. You can find me on LinkedIn, Dr. Mark Leonard. Reach out to me, and I would love to see if there's something I can do to help you. I have one-on-one coaching, group coaching. I have larger group coaching. We have marriage workshops. We have marriage excursions. Ooh. Where we go on a trip together. We've got some great things coming up that would love to see. I've got courses that we offer. Reach out. I like to believe I'm still a small business, even though I have 35 employees. When you reach out, there's only one person that answers.
Oh,
it's me.
That's awesome.
I never wanted to get so big that I am not the one helping you. Because for me, You're good. I want to leave a legacy of leaving the world better.
Yeah.
And I want to have my part in helping people improve. Mm-hmm. I'm driven by that. Every day I wake up with gratitude of how I know I was placed here to help somebody. I just don't know who they are. I'm just looking to help.
So if you're listening today, Dr. Mark leads with his heart and has trained his brain to help you become the best version of you. I highly recommend you reach out. Thank you, Dr. Mark.
Thank you so much, Jen. Love spending time with you.
Thank you.